So what I'm keen to talk about today, Shane, is the process of lodging a loan. I'm sure people are really excited about this topic. You think?
I think so. This will be our highest hit, I think.
Yeah.
Highest hit topic.
So it's not about the house, it's about the loan? No.
That's it.
So, of course, it's about your goal. It's about your dream is the big game. So about getting to the goal of buying your home, buying your property, or refinancing for a better deal. But we thought it'd be handy to talk about the broad stages, and we're always seeking to engage someone with their level of interest and their level of action, and therefore what tempo we might go at. So the first part would obviously be an inquiry or a reinitiation of a conversation where we'd have a chat about what they're looking to do, and then we'd ask them to get some documents for us. And how long would it take to put a loan together, Shane? So your expertise in putting everything together and lodging with the bank might take roughly how long?
About a day's worth of work probably in terms to put it all together and get it prepared to send to the bank.
Yep.
A lot of the work obviously is just getting the documentation up front, and once we have all that, it's about a day from there. Yeah.
And at that time, what are you looking for from the lender, or what sort of any other activities might be happening that we're doing or the client might be doing around lodgement time?
In terms of it making offers, or do you mean?
Maybe just the loan first. Yeah.
Not sure.
That's okay. So we're looking to see the lender's got it. We're looking to see that it's all complete. And the documents are all complete and received. We're updating the client that that's done. So sort of routine that we are pretty high tempo at that stage to inform the client, because they're pretty keen to know what's going on, obviously. And then we're seeking or looking for either a pre-approval or a conditional approval. So if it's an actual property that they're looking at and they're buying for a certain property, we're looking for, hey, your loan's conditionally approved, subject to anything. So what are the sort of things the bank might be asking for at that conditional approval stage?
Yeah, I mean, it's common that the bank on first look of everything might have a few questions. It might be just, can you confirm that transfer there, what that was? Or they might just ask for one more statement of something. It's not uncommon to just for the assessor to call us and ask a couple of questions that often we can answer straight up. But in terms of a conditional sort of a pre-approval, for instance, when you getting pre-approved, obviously it's going to be subject to a suitable property evaluation. So an exchange contract of sale as well. So
okay, so there's a bit to come yet, but the big picture is, how did the bank find it in general? And even when it's perfectly packaged and beautifully presented, banks are very fussy at the moment with the level of detail they're scrutinising accounts and wanting to know information. So the first catch at the bank might be anything from very quick, like 1 day, 2 days, out to, like we said before, major lenders might be like 3 weeks right now or 4 weeks. So we see speed as incredibly important, and that's a part of the consideration is, how's your bank going versus other options? What are the product needs and what are the speed needs to be able to buy your property or do what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, most lenders, when we first submit an application, will do what's called a preassessment check. So they'll check basically to make sure all the documents that an assessor would need are on the application. Once that passes through that, it goes into the queue for the assessment. So that normally happens in the first day or two, pushes through to the assessment queue, and then it just depends on what bank you're at, how long that sort of wait in that queue might be. So that ranges anywhere from a day to 4 or 5 weeks or plus.
Yeah. So we're obviously preferring fast. We're fully informing the client, and we see all the turnaround time, so it's no surprise. And then we're getting that first feedback from the lender, and often at that stage we get good amount of information we can tell the customer. So maybe it's the assessor we've spoken to, and we can therefore tell the customer what the assessor thought. And as we provide the supplementary items, we then get more certainty. Now, some lenders will do a fully assessed pre-approval, which we love, which therefore the customer has strong support, strong feedback that the lender will support them, subject only to finding a suitable property. What proportion of lenders, Shane, would fully assess a pre-approval versus would do an electronic version, so roughly?
Yeah, I'd say about half. It's probably reducing. I think due to the turnaround times blowing out, a lot of lenders are sort of thinking, well, we want to do less and less pre-approvals because, only a certain number of pre-approvals go through. So, I'd probably say half, but I'm curious to see how how that actually changes going forward as assessment times seem to be pushing out a bit.
So in the tough lending environment, we think it's very important to get strong certainty from the lender. We've had some recently where we've lodged a loan and they've changed their policy and not told us. So we can often get that turned around and get it fully assessed. The other thing that might or might not be needed is evaluation. So some lenders will use an automated valuation where they say, look, a property of that size in that suburb at that address, we can see what it last sold for, we can see what is selling around it. We accept that if it's an on-market transaction, like it's been exchanged through an agent with no insiders, like one of the agents' staff buying it, or no family involvement, or no parties outside the state. So if there is extra steps, and if the assessor does need to escalate it, it may have to go into more senior assessment like the credit team. Now, I don't want this all to sound like mumbo jumbo, and every lender is a bit different. I guess all I'm really seeking to transmit at this time is we don't just click our fingers and have the approval happen. And we're very conscious also of working within the parameters of getting unconditional approval during the cool-off in New South Wales anyway. That's what we'll do a different session on, but to do it fast enough to keep up with the transaction and keep the customer informed of what's going on. And so at that stage, when everything's okay, when the bank's happy, they give the full approval. And that's great because then you have the confidence that the lender will loan to you. After the full approval, can be straight away or a week or two, they'll issue the formal loan agreements. So also the official loan agreements, which is all the fine print of what you're signing up to with the bank. And then when that's back and the paperwork's tidied, etc., they're ready to do the settlement. So that's probably the big picture of anything else you could...
I guess it's varied between banks too now, isn't it, with the loan documents? Some are electronic, some are still paper-based mailed out. So some we can print for the client, but every lender is very different still with that. But it shouldn't be too long and we'll be able to do full electronic documentation. So
from start to finish.
Let's hope that's coming along quicker. Yeah.
Yeah, we love it. So that's probably a little bit of something different for this month, and I hope it hasn't been too much mumbo jumbo. I hope it also does transmit we're very proud of what we do and our knowledge of the many lenders, and any broker or banker that you would use, I would encourage you to use someone who is extraordinarily familiar with a multi-lender platform and how to get the job done for you, because we hear so many unfortunate stories. Not that we would want to bag the competition, would we, Shane?
No,
of course we wouldn't. Well, that's it for the monthly session. Hope you've enjoyed this little insight into what happens through the process of a loan.